what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7. So it's been a while since I've done one of these. Of course, this is going to be a money grind method featuring the F3500A from update 1.55. Now I did have the original run recorded right on the weekend of update 1.55 releasing, but due to circumstances, it's going to be a lot later down the line by the time I actually get this video finished. So of course, for this method, we're going to be running the Gran Turismo F3500A, of course based on an early 1990s Formula 1 car. Now when you first take a look at this car, you'll realise that it has almost 1000 PP rating, and to actually detune it to get it to a grindable PP rating, it's going to take a lot. So we're looking at an 800 PP build here. As you can see, we've got almost 1000 to begin with, a max power of 773, weighing only 505 kilograms, and it's naturally aspirated. The car itself will set you back 1 million credits. However, you will be earning those credits back inside an hour and you'll have an extra use for this vehicle. Now, in terms of the livery that I'm using today, this is by Lotus. As you can see, it is a LaRousse LC92 livery, of course, from 1992. I think this one looks absolutely stunning, so massive shout out to him. It'll also give you the exact same parts that I'm using on my Formula build. Now in terms of the actual parts for this one, as you can see, it runs on the Racing Hard compound of tyre. Now for an 800 build, that is the only compound you're going to need, so anything like heavyweights, intermediates, mediums, etc. are completely irrelevant to this build. Now in terms of the body height, I have my front set at 54 and the rear set at 57. Now that is quite high up off the ground, and that is because Sardinia features some pretty big elevation changes, especially when you're entering into corners. So the last thing you want to do is bottom the car out. Now in terms of the anti-roll bar, this is where I mainly struggled for my build, and in the end I settled on 5 and 5, which for me is comfortable and really reacts well with the car. So next up we have the compression. I have this set to 35 for both. Expansion is going to be 45 for both. Natural frequency at the front is 5.15, just over the midpoint, and then at the rear is 5.35, a little closer to the maximum of 550. Negative camber angle 2.5 across the board. Onto the toe angle next. Now for me personally, I've gone for a 0.10 inwards front and 0.15 inwards at the rear. Now in terms of the differential, I have it set at 5, 5 and 5. I feel like this is just absolutely fine for this build, considering we do have to down tune it. It does react well on 5 for all of those values. Now in terms of the transmission, I actually run a fully customizable manual. Now of course we are sacrificing the insanely quick gear changes on this one. However, it does give us a bunch more performance points to play with. I have it set at 320, and here are my individual gears. Final of 4.124, sixth of 1.350-335, fifth of 1.466-296, a fourth of 1.648-263, a third of 1.944-223, and a second of 2.422-179. And finally, to finish up, first gear is 3.53-137. You'll mainly be running in 5th gear, however you can just switch to 6th if you do want to have a bit extra fuel consumption. Now in terms of the ballast, I have this set at 198 with a positioning of -50. That does seem like a lot, however this car is incredibly light, and even with 198 ballast, it only takes it up to 703 kilograms, so a lot less than a lot of other cars in GT7. So the next part that has been changed in the performance adjustment is the power restrictor. As you can see, I have this set at 70, so I've reduced that all the way down to the bottom. We then have the fully customizable ECU set to 92. Downforce at the front is 900 and 1800 at the rear, so 900 minimum, and then at the rear it is maximum. We do have the racing silencer, but you can change this to semi-racing or racing. It just changes the sound of the car, doesn't affect performance points. And then for me personally, I have my brake controller set to around about 2, so more towards the rear there, and that is it. In the end, the total PP rating is 799.94. Now in terms of the events next, I fully recommend running this in the WTC 800 events. That is exactly what it's made for, and it will work for all of them. However, a word of warning here, do not run this car during any of the night events. So any event that might start off in day and go to night, or any event that just starts off at night, this car is almost completely useless. If it's completely lit up on a track, it's not too bad, but for something like the Spa 24-hour layout 1 hour event, it is completely useless due to the lack of headlights. Again, because that goes night to day and it's typically raining a lot at night, I would just fully stay clear of that one. So when it comes to the grind events, I will only really run this at Sardinia Road Track A for the 15 lap 800 pp race, and that is the one that you're going to see footage of in this video. So let's go ahead and explain a little bit about the build. So of course, alongside update 1.55, there was a bunch of physics changes which really does change up a lot of the vehicles in game, as well as PP rating changes. So a lot of the meta cars either don't work or the glitch builds have been completely fixed, so you can't really go ahead and run them. However, the main reason I went ahead and built this car almost instantly was because Polyphony put this car in game without any actual set usage to it. So there is no set kind of F3 500 playlist, anything like that. The only time we ever really see this car or get to see it is during a time trial, or every now and again with a special event, which we've only had one of. So my main aim here was to make the F3 500 as useful as possible and actually grindable. That way you can go ahead and sit behind the wheel of this thing as much as you like. So let's get into the strategy for the event then. Now thankfully, although we've removed a lot of power from this car, we are not running in Fuel Mix 6 for the entirety of the event. We're going to be running Fuel Mix 2 for the first stint and then Fuel Mix 1 for the second stint. So start off in Fuel Mix 2. Of course, although we've took a lot of power away from this car, Sardinia really isn't that top speed heavy. In fact, I would prefer to have high downforce around here and a ton of grip, so you can kind of get the flow and string the corners together. So you're going to be making up your time through the corners rather than the top speed. So Fuel Mix 2 to begin with, work your way through the field and slipstream if you need to. Again, the top speed of this thing's around about 175 to 180. It is certainly not absolutely ridiculous at 200 miles an hour plus. However, through the corners, it's insanely planted. I recommend coupling this with short shifting to get as much fuel usage out of this car as possible, so shift early. Now once you get up into second place, you'll probably notice that the lead car, which is pretty much always the Dodge Viper, is way up the road. You will catch him very, very quickly. Now the main reason this car has such a gap to the rest is because it's running on racing softs, so it does tend to break away. After that, and you've overtaken it, you then need to watch out for the traffic. It will typically start building up anywhere from lap 5 to around about lap 7, lap 8. So again, just get through them as cleanly as possible. If you hit them, don't worry, you won't lose the clean race bonus, but it can really slow you down. So I pitted in at the end of lap 8 going on to lap 9. Now since we're running the racing hards, we do not have to change tyres. That one single compound of tyre is good enough for the entirety of the event. We are just pitting for fuel. So I fully recommend ignoring the little notch and actually just filling the car to full. The main reason for this is because we're then going to change up from a Fuel Mix 2 strategy to a Fuel Mix 1. So fill the car to full and get yourself back out on track. Just be aware though, at Sardinia the AI will come absolutely flying down the straight and they will not stop for you, so just look behind you as you exit. Now after that we're going to run Fuel Mix 1, of course, for the entirety of this stint. You should have enough fuel, especially with the short shifting, to run all the way to the end absolutely cleanly without having to alter that. So you'll be much faster on your second run than you was on your first. And there we go, with 15 laps completed, this is a super simple build to run here. Now my overall time, it certainly wasn't the best. I did have a bit of an off, so I ended up with a final time of 24 minutes 41 seconds 0.812. During this run, I managed to lap the entire grid at least twice over, with some of the back markers being lapped at least 3 times. So overall, definitely not the fastest, but a super easy build to run around here. And again, it gets use out of the F3 500A. In terms of the payout, well, of course, it's a little bit lower for Sardinia, 727,500 credits for this one. And there we go. With that, it finally completes my first post-update 1.55 build. Again, I'll be going through some of the glitch builds just to see if I can get any of them working, and I do plan to bring this series back. I know it had been a while, but again, I'd been making these kind of videos for years and building cars, and it just got a little bit tiresome. So it really took something like the Formula car and the whole PP ratings changes to actually bring me back to doing these. So I will try and get more of these done, and hopefully in the end I can get a nice list of the fastest builds in the entirety of GT7 post update 1.55. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Peace.